walking along this little road here, headed back into the mountains. I can't help but think that how long ago? 100 years, 200 years, certainly 300 years ago, people that were truly living free, walked these grounds at one time. I'm looking out across what's known as Lower Lake Mary outside of Flagstaff. There's no water. It's dried up. This is Upper Lake Mary. Of course, it's man-made back in the early 1900s by the Riordan family. I think I pronounced that right. And they named it Mary after their daughter. But it's man-made. Yes, people enjoy it. But it's not that raw, organic, earthy water that doesn't come by man's assistance. And I remember some months back when I was down here, there wasn't this much water. Of course, we've had some snow up here, but it was pretty low. A little more water now since after the snow, but man-made. How long have you been out?
2 hours.
That's not bad, huh?
No, not bad at all.
Yeah, that looks good.
Getting tired of it.
Yeah. All right,
heavy.
take care.
You too.
Every time I get on these man-made trails, which, I mean, I appreciate them, but I always think of 200, 300, 400 years ago. And of course, there were man-made trails at that time, but they were made by, of course, wildlife, like they are today, but also the indigenous people, mountain men, scouts, pioneers, didn't have the technology that we do today, but they traversed these sacred grounds. Can you hear the wind? I love to hear the wind. You know, in view of the political and religious voices in the world today, constantly bickering back and forth. I'm right, no, I'm right, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. You're stupid. Blah, 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 blah. But listen to the wind. It doesn't debate, it doesn't argue. It's freedom. Look at these trees here. Look at these clumps of trees. Are they arguing, debating, fussing, fighting, hating each other? No. Only humans, which allegedly are the highest level of creation as we know it on the earth today, only they are capable of such. Look at these rocks. Stones, rocks, boulders. Look at them. Are they fussing, debating? I want this spot. No, I want this spot. No. No, I want this spot. No, I want this spot. Nope. They lay where they fell. And as usual, there's always signs. Out here in the wilderness, there's always signs of man's negligence, lack of integrity and respect. As I stand here looking at this once giant pine tree, I'm reminded of a verse in the scriptures that says, as a tree falls, so will it lie, or there it will lie. And there it is. Looks like a track there. I'm certainly seeing a lot of droppings. I come across this fence here, and I don't know what laid it down, but something did in this area right here. I remember when I worked on a ranch in Montana, and usually every Saturday I would saddle up the horse and ride about, I don't know, 20, 30 miles of fence at the ranch there and check the fence and see if there were any places like this where the elk would come down in herds and just bulldoze the fence down. The cattle would get out. So I'm wondering if that's what happened here. There's some droppings. Well, they're scattered all over here. I'm going to sit down beneath this massive pine tree. Look at that. Yeah, I'm going to sit here and just observe and think. Sitting here under this big, massive pine tree, just observing, thinking. And of course, when I get up into these wild places, I always think about freedom. You know, even the animals today, they're free, but they're not as free as they were at one time. Nope, not as free as they were at one time. And certainly we as humans are not as free as they were at one time. No, even the animals today, they've got fences to deal with. Wildlife conservation rules and regulations and laws. Roads, cars, semi-trucks. Yeah, even motorcycles have hit wildlife crossing the road. But how many times have you seen the body of a dead animal laying on the side of the road, what we call roadkill? Anything from deer to elk, rabbits, squirrels, birds. They've got all kind of obstacles that technology has placed in their pathway, just like we do. When I worked on that ranch out in Montana, I also worked part-time for a construction company. The ranch was 40 miles northeast out of Missoula. And I work for this contractor, really nice young guy. We worked a lot up in Seeley Lake, which was, I don't know, about 18 miles along this mountain road. It was paved, but it was a mountain road from the ranch house. And that mountain road was just filled with curves. And you passed, all along that way up to Seeley Lake, you passed 7 beautiful lakes. But I remember when I first started driving that road, I would come around one of them curves and there would be this massive mule deer just splattered all over the road. And of course, I'm sure it was hit by a semi-truck. If it was hit by a car, the car was certainly in worse shape. And then here's the thing: I would come around the curve, see the mule deer splattered on the road, and bald and golden eagles would be feeding off of it. And so I would pull my Jeep over to the side of the road, and as soon as I got out, the eagles would fly up into a tree and just sit there and watch me, and I'd pull that mule deer off the road because I thought, well, those eagles are going to get hit. And so throughout the duration of working there, I did that quite a few times. But in the course of that, I got to talking to some of the old timers there, told them what I was doing, and they said, yeah, that's how a lot of eagles are killed. By that very thing that they're feeding off of those mule deer, dead on the road, and vehicles come around those curves and they hit them before they have time to take flight. So they said, you're doing a good thing. Well, it made me feel good. So see, even animals are not as free as they were at one time. And of course, animals are slaughtered from helicopters, boats. You wonder how much poaching goes on in the world, where the animal's skin is taken, or the horns or the antlers, and the meat is left to rot. We know that's what happened with the depletion of the bison population. The white man wanted the hides and left millions of bison carcasses to rot on the plains. Yeah, millions of bison, buffalo, were left to rot on the plains because of the greed of the white man. You know, the Lakota tribe referred to the bison as, I believe it's Tatanka. And in their tongue, it meant buffalo or bison, as we know it. And the bison were particularly of great importance to the Lakota tribe because of their spiritual and cultural association. It was their livelihood. They utilized every part of it because they lived according to the laws of nature and nature's God. Not as the white man, who could, not all, most Europeans could care less about the laws of nature and nature's God. See, this is fascinating to me. It's amazing how artists will try to reproduce that through a painting of sorts, or, as I'm doing, take a picture of it. But it's created by nature. Organic, raw, earthy. Man didn't have anything to do with that. And here's a pile of old droppings. See, look at the shape of that big rock boulder there. What caused it? Well, we don't know except time, organic circumstance. There's a lot of history right there. History to us that's a mystery. How did it get here? How did it take on that shape? Water, wind. As I said, organic circumstance. What do you see when you look out across the trees and the rocks and the boulders? Trees that are both living and dead. What do you see? What comes to mind? What comes to my mind is time, history, things that are a mystery that we don't know. But time and history, that's what I'm looking at here. Time and history. It's all a mystery to me. And as I've said many times, here I am way back here in the wilderness. And guess what? Yep. There it is. One thing we know as we look out across this wilderness that's connected to time and history is we see life and death. Time, which consists of life and death, controls all of us. We can't slow it down, we can't speed it up. Well, I came across a patch of snow up here, and I would say those are probably elk tracks. Come across a little game trail here out from that snow patch. Have you ever just stood and looked and stared at the bark of a tree? This one saw some fire at one time. It survived. They call it bark, but it doesn't bark, it doesn't make a sound. But that's typical in words of the English language. One word can take on different meanings and characteristics. That's bark with no sound. It's a mystery. Look at this rock here. All those micro mini craters in it. Kind of reminds us things we see, pictures taken on the moon. Well, I come across this little fire pit here, and guess what else I see? Stop to look at more of this algae. Depending on which side of the world your reference is. British pronunciation is lichen. I think it's lichen. And of course, it's also referred to as lichen. But it's a fungus, kind of between a fungus and an algae. It has characteristics. It helps break down rocks and feeds the soil. All kind of interesting characteristics. I'm fascinated by it. Look at the lichen or lichen all over this big boulder. It's all natural, raw, organic, earthy. The laws of nature. Nature's God. Look what I come across. Nice little scrape here. Nice little scrape. Oh, need I say anything? Well, all my brothers and sisters out there, I'm back on the scooter. Get ready to pull out of here, go get me something to eat. I'm starved. At that little trek through the woods. And, well, hope you're having a good time, and I'll see you around.